The Moro conflict is an ongoing insurgency on the island of Mindanao in the Philippines. In 1969, political tensions and open hostilities developed between the government of the Philippines and Moro Muslim rebel groups. The Moro insurgency was triggered by the Jabidah massacre, which saw the killing of 60 Filipino Muslim commandos on a planned operation to reclaim the eastern part of the Malaysian state of Sabah. In response, the University of the Philippines professor Nur Misuari established the Moro National Liberation Front, an armed insurgent group that was committed to establishing an independent Mindanao. Over the successive years, the MNLF has splintered into several different groups, including the Moro Islamic Liberation Front, which wanted to establish an Islamic state within the Philippines. The Moro insurgency is rooted in a long history of resistance by the Bangsa Moro people against foreign rule, dating back to the American annexation of the Philippines in 1899. Since then, Moro resistance has persisted against the Philippine government. Casualty statistics vary for the conflict. However, the conservative estimates of the Uppsala Conflict Data Program indicate that at least 6,015 people were killed in armed conflict between the government of Philippines and ASG, BIFM, MILF, and MNLF factions between 1989 and 2012. Origins. The Moros had a history of resistance against Spanish, American, and Japanese rule for 400 years. The origin of the war between the Moros and Christian Filipinos during the Spanish colonization of the Philippines. During the Spanish-Moro conflict, Spain repeatedly tried to conquer the Moro Sultanate of Sulu, Sultanate of Maguindanao, and the Confederation of Sultanates in Lanao. The violent armed struggle against the Japanese, Filipinos, Spanish, and Americans is considered by current Moro Muslim leaders to be part of a 4-century-long national liberation movement of the Bangsa Moro. The 400-year-long resistance against the Japanese, Americans, and Spanish by the Moro Muslims persisted and morphed into the current war for independence against the Philippine state. The root of the conflict originates in the Spanish and American wars against the Moros. Following the Spanish-American War in 1898, another conflict sparked in southern Philippines between the revolutionary Muslims in the Philippines and the United States military that took place between 1899 and 1913. Filipinos opposed foreign rule from the United States, which claimed the Philippines as its territory. On 14 August 1898, after defeating Spanish forces, the United States had established a military government in the Philippines under General Wesley Merritt as military governor. American forces took control from the Spanish government in Jolo on 18 May 1899, and at Zamboanga in December 1899. Brigadier General John C. Bates was sent to negotiate a treaty with the Sultan of Sulu, Jamal al-Kiram II. Kiram was disappointed by the American takeover, as he expected to regain sovereignty after the defeat of Spanish forces in the archipelago. Bates' main goal was to guarantee Moro neutrality in the Philippine-American War, and to establish order in the southern Philippines. After some negotiation, the Bates Treaty was signed, which was based on an earlier Spanish treaty. The Bates Treaty did ensure the neutrality of the Muslims in the South, but it was actually set up to buy time for the Americans until the war in the North ended. After the war, in 1915, the Americans imposed the Carpenter Treaty on Sulu. On 20 March 1900, General Bates was replaced by Brigadier General William August Cobbey, and the District of Mindanao Mindanao Jolo was upgraded to a full department. American forces in Mindanao were reinforced and hostilities with the Moro people lessened, although there are reports of Americans and other civilians being attacked and slain by Moros. The American invasion began in 1904 and ended at the term of Major General John J. Pershing, the third and final military governor of Moro Province, although major resistance continued in Budafo and Mount Bagzak in Jolo. The Americans slaughtered hundreds of Moro women and children in the Moro Crater massacre. Repeated rebellions by the Moros against American rule continued to break out even after the main Moro rebellion ended, right up to the Japanese occupation of the Philippines during World War II. During the Japanese invasion of the Philippines, the Moros waged an insurgency against the Japanese on Mindanao and Sulu until Japan surrendered in 1945. Moro juramentados attacked the Spanish, Americans, Philippine constabulary and the Japanese.